Hey, what's going on with y'all niggas, man? It's your friendly neighborhood comedian Devon Samuels, and I just got back from getting my bikini wax, and I feel beautiful. Now, what we got here is another reaction for y'all. Joe List finally addresses the Bert Kreischer beef. I didn't even know this nigga Bert Kreischer was in a beef with anybody. And to be honest, I didn't know so many people hated Bert Kreischer. Like, damn, I didn't know, like, I find him harmless, personally. Like, I don't think it's nothing wrong with him. But there are some people out there who do not like this motherfucker. So let's check it out. Let's get into this shit.
Didn't happen. Okay, I'll tell you what didn't happen. I didn't eat pizza. Okay, that's one of the things that bothered me. Because we had sushi while we went there. Okay, so there's a lot of this story they don't know that would fill in the blanks.
And my counterpoint is, Bert later ate pizza.
My fault.
I wasn't there for it. I never got a thank you for the pizza.
Wow.
And his big thing was, and I love Bert and we're cool, but he kept saying, I went and got Thai food for him, but I'm like, but I went too.
Yeah,
I took you there and picked you up. I also went.
You actually transported the Thai food.
Yeah.
A few months ago, we covered the big fight between Joe List
Oh,
and
this
Bert
the same
Kreischer
dude from
that
the
happened
other
at Mark
video.
Norman's bachelor party. And although it did happen almost a full year ago, it wasn't until Ari Shaffir went on Two Bears, One Cave and actually exposed Bert Kreischer for having a wild meltdown and essentially screaming at Joe List. The whole thing started getting a lot of traction and got pretty big to the point that Bert Kreischer was forced to actually address it on his show and give his perspective and his side of the story. But now we finally have Joe List's side of the story, and let me tell you, it did not disappoint, because although Joe List is not the type of comics to start drama and just take shots at people, by him just telling his side of the story and telling the truth, it essentially exposes Bert's insane level of exaggerating of a story. So in this video, we'll take a look at what Joe List said about the incident and compare it to what Bert Kreischer has said in the past, and finally see who is in the wrong here. So let's get started.
Okay. Just to preface, I have no clue who Joe List is. Literally, this video, the title of this video is my first time hearing his name. I'm not familiar with who he is. I'm not familiar with his comedy. I'm just now finding out who this dude is.
You hear Big Fat Bert's version of your guys?
I've been dreading this.
Really? Do you even know? You don't even know about it.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Yes.
So he detailed a confrontation when they were in Tampa at a bachelor party. He told a story, and then Ari was like, "That's not the." Ari was like, "That's not what happened." And then eventually, through Ari being very specific, Bert was like, "Okay, yeah, that's kind of true." Like he did a full 180.
And I didn't melt down. And by the way, I was blacked out.
Yeah, you did. You melted, bro.
I melted down. Okay, I definitely melted down.
Hold on.
I melted down.
Yeah, but what can you tell me? Like,
Wait a damn minute. Yeah, I didn't melt down. Yes, you did. All right, I did. What the fuck?
I've been having nightmares of this. When
Really?
we booked the show, I'm like, Bert's going to come out from behind the
no,
wall.
he's not. He's not.
It's all squashed.
You
It's
guys are
great.
good now.
We're great. We were great a half an hour after. It all
Oh,
was,
that
was
okay.
fantastic. But then it got built because Ari came on. Ari, that pimple, came on.
Yeah.
And he brought it up, and then Mark Norman mentioned it on Theo, so it became like an internet sensation.
Yeah, it did. It did.
And then in my special, because it was about pizza and Thai food, and then in my special, I have a bunch of jokes about ordering pizza, and all these people were like, "Oh, I love it. List is trolling Bert." And I'm like, the idea that I rewrote my act with Bert is insane. But
I would do that.
Now, in case you didn't follow what happened between Bert
Yes,
Kreischer and Joe List,
Tom would
I'll give
do
you
that.
a very quick summary, okay? So last year, before getting married, Mark Norman had a bachelor party and invited a bunch of...
Hold on, time the fuck out. Do I have a fucking lazy eye? I didn't know Mark Norman was married. Huh. Okay.
comics and close friends of his, and Bert Kreischer ended up getting invited. Apparently, Joe List and Bert Kreischer did get into an argument over food that ended in them screaming at each other. Now, nobody knew about this until, again, Ari Shaffir went on Two Bears, One Cave and exposed the whole story and even called Bert Kreischer on air or while they were recording the show and confronted him about lies that he told and things that he did at the bachelor party, like screaming at Joe List over some food, essentially. This obviously made Bert not look the best, and he went on to try and defend himself. And
Bert, I just want to say, Bert Kreischer is absolutely the nigga I could see yelling at somebody about some food. Just keeping it all the way true. Just keeping it all the way true. He does seem like the type of nigga that will yell at your ass over some food and shit. Yo, it really looks like I have a fucking lazy eye.
Said that him and Joe List were basically cool. However, around that same time, Mark Norman went on Theo Vaughn's podcast and was essentially telling a story about how two friends, close friends of his, were talking bad about each other, were mad at each other, and using him essentially as the middleman. That obviously made it a lot bigger, but it did make sense because they were essentially arguing about somebody clearly being in the wrong and the other person now wanting to accept it.
I mean, I can give you try to do a abridged version real quick. But basically, yeah, everyone, there was like 15 of us. It was Norman's bachelor party. Everyone's banged up. I don't drink, so I was like the sober guy. Everyone's banged up, and there's some other accoutrements going around. And we were trying to figure out what we were going to eat. And some people were like, let's get delivery. Bert didn't want to get delivery. And then we were like, DeRosa was like, I'll cook. We got to go to the grocery store. I'll cook for everybody. And then I was the one sober one, so I was like, all right, I'll drive to the grocery store.
I'll cook for everybody.
And Bert and Joe were like, we'll go with you. And they were both banged up. So I tried to get Ari, who's kind of like I'm close with Ari, and I was like, he's the bridge between us. But then stupid Ari was like, I'm going to take a shower first. So while he was showering, somebody came up with the idea to get Thai food. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure who. But then Bert was like,
this goes to show you how bad men are at planning shit. Because how does this even happen?
So I drove Bert and Joe.
Like that. How does this even happen? Because like with one motherfucker, why did y'all not already have food there? Ain't it a bachelor party? Shouldn't it already be some food there? Y'all was just winging this shit, I guess. Well, okay.
So I went back to the house. I started a charades game. We were all playing charades. And then Bert texted and said, I'm ready to be picked up.
Now, I think that one of the most important details here is the fact that Joe List himself said that him and Bert Kreischer were not close friends at all, to the point where he really wanted Ari Shaffir to be with him, hanging out, since he was the one that knew Bert Kreischer and not Joe List. And I totally understand that. It's not like Bert Kreischer is a complete stranger, but it's like if you go hang out with a friend and that friend leaves you with two other different people that you don't know at all. It's just not the most comfortable situation, especially if you're Joe List, who is sober, driving around two drunk people. And also, Joe List did mention how things didn't start off so well because Bert Kreischer was essentially trashing his cigars and his baseball swing, obviously kidding around, but they were clearly already not hitting it off as best friends. So then to ask Joe List to stay and party with you probably wasn't the best move at that time. By the way, if you like what you're seeing so far, do me a huge favor and hit the like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. It helps out so much, and I really appreciate that. Thank you.
So I was like, I'm coming. So I ran over there in the car. I have the text. Because in the story he told, I kept them waiting, which is not true.
Forever.
We called Joe List, and we say, hey, can you come grab us? We're ready. Joe List took a while, which is fine.
That's exactly wrong.
Yeah.
And this I have receipts.
This is everything. What you're saying right now is so specific to a Bert version of a story, though. This gross exaggeration of something that is.
Wait, I believe Ari put that out there. I don't want to be on Bert's side anymore. I mean, on this bad side. But so I drove over, and then at this point, Bert came out and was like, "Get in here, come on." I mean, he was pretty banged up. He was like, "Let's go," and I was like, "Oh no, I'm picking you up," and he was like, "Come on." Get in here. And to be fair to Bert, he just wanted to hang and connect, I think. But I was like, I don't want to hang out at the bar. I'm hanging out. We're playing charades. So I went back. Then I came back a third time I drove there. And this time, they left me like in the car for like 8 minutes. And so I texted Bert and was like, dude, because now I was getting furious that I was being treated kind of like an Uber driver.
Yeah, sure.
So finally, Bert and Joe came out. And I think another problem was DeRosa came out first. And I was like, Joe, what the I've just been sitting out here. I've driven here 3 times. And Joe went in and told Bert, List is furious. And I think Bert was unhappy about that.
Yeah.
Now, Tom Segura saying that is such a Bert story is essentially a nice way of saying that Bert is a liar because it's so far from just being an exaggerated story. I mean, Bert Kreischer legit changed history, changed what happened that other people witnessed, and then doubled down on it. Now, my first thought was that Bert Kreischer knew that he could get away with lying because he was so big that nobody around him that knew him would be willing to expose him and call him out. And again, it wasn't until Ari Shaffir told the story, and obviously he doesn't care. Now, to be fair to Bert Kreischer, I do think that it was a bad combination of people because obviously Joe List is a sober person. He doesn't drink or party that much. And then at the same time, you have Bert Kreischer, who at that point was peaking in terms of partying and drinking and all that stuff. And maybe Joe List could have been a little bit more patient, but it does sound like Bert was testing that and pushing it to the limit. And look, the fact that Joe List didn't say anything up until now proves the point that he was a little bit too patient.
So when he got in the car, I was like, he was mad at me already, and I was like, I got to get back. The pizza's getting delivered. Yeah. And he was like, rah! He was like, what the? And then also, I'm going to push back on this, and I wish Bert were here, and we should have this conversation. But he, in his mind, and I believe that he thinks this, he said, I said, nobody wants your Thai food, which I did not say. Yeah. Everybody did want Thai food. That's why I was like, I'm just going to order this pizza quietly. And the other argument that Bert has is that I never said thank you, which is true.
This I know,
But when he came out, I don't know when I could have said that, because he came out and we were already arguing. Yeah. And my counterpoint is, Bert later ate pizza. I wasn't there for it. I never got a thank you for the pizza.
Wow.
And his big thing was...
Funny. So this nigga was tripping the whole time, and that nigga still ate that damn pizza.
And got Thai food for everybody, but I'm like, but I went too.
Yeah,
I took you there and picked you up. I also went.
You actually transported the Thai food.
Yeah.
So, a few times you went back and forth.
You delivered Thai food.
Yeah. But
I mean, at this point, I don't know what Bert Kreischer can say to defend himself. I think he just should try and move on, and hopefully people forget, because the level to which he changes the story that actually happened in real life, it's completely insane. And obviously it makes you wonder, it makes you question a lot of his other stories, because this was a story that a lot of people witnessed, including Ari Shaffir, Mark Norman, and a lot of people that are Comic.
Bert seemed like one of them type niggas that like he can't help it. He has to exaggerate. Like he can't not exaggerate when a nigga is speaking. You know what I'm saying? Or telling a story. You know what I'm saying? You know people like that.
And have platforms. So now imagine the stories that involve people that don't. And look, it was very clear to me who was in the wrong from the start. But now listening Joe List talk about it definitely gives it an interesting perspective. They are now cool with each other, and I don't think this goes on any longer. I'm sure we will see Joe List do a podcast with Bert Kreischer soon, right? But yeah, I definitely think that this puts an end to their beef. And it's very interesting, once again, because it's almost like watching a movie where two characters are telling their side of the story, and then you see that both of their stories are completely different from each other, even though they both experience the same thing. But yeah, let me know what you think in the comments below. Leave a like and subscribe to support the channel. It helps out to push the video.
Yes, sir. I might as well subscribe to this motherfucker at this point. You know what I'm saying? I didn't even know this was the same dude that made the other video. Yeah, he makes good content. So yeah, make sure to check him out. Yeah, Bert Kreischer, he's got to start coming out and at least saying like, hey, sometimes I grossly exaggerate in my stories. I'm not trying to straight up lie, but I do exaggerate. And so I apologize if I exaggerated any parts of the story and shit like that. And yeah, that's the only way I can say, unless he stops doing that, you know, he has to at least come out and acknowledge it. Yeah, that was a good video. Link in the description for the original video. And I'll see y'all next time.